Pure silence as Yuji drives out my new Corolla. Your eyes do not deceive you. I have purchased a Toyota Corolla hybrid, and I feel I should hand in my car enthusiast card right now, but I'm going to try with this review to justify my purchase and tell you about this 2024 Toyota Corolla hybrid that I just bought for some reason. Please enjoy. So this is my new old faithful, even though it's brand new. The reason why I decided to buy this is because I have been through so many dailies over the last 5 years, and I want something that just sits in the back of my garage for the next 10 years and just looks after itself, is cheap to run, fuel efficient, safe, all that sort of stuff. And it's a particularly legendary, if you let me use that word, branding. So this Corolla badge has been around for 57 years, and Toyota has sold over 50 million Toyota Corollas. They're also known as a Toyota Auris, I guess in the US if you're from there. And it is just an absolute picture of vehicular white goods. It does the job from A to B or A to A, and that's pretty much it. I bought it because it has enough space for me. It's incredibly efficient, as you'll see in a moment. We've got a front wheel drive, 4-cylinder, 1.8 litre hybrid, and it was not cheap. Not as cheap as I definitely thought they were not long ago. We'll get to that in a moment. So let's talk about my spec that I have chosen with all of one choice and the exterior of the car. Well, it is very much a white good. It may as well be a fridge or a toaster that you put in your home, but it's not a horrible looking thing. This generation has seen a little bit more aggressive front and a little bit more interesting looking rear. This is an Ascent Sport Spec, meaning the base one, but it's a hybrid, and I've put a convenience pack on that. Now, what does that mean? Well, you get seven airbags as standard, you get 16-inch alloys as standard, which is not too bad. And in the convenience pack, which was $1,000 Australian, you get front and rear parking sensors, which I'll tell you what, it kind of pissed me off to spend $1,000 on front and rear parking sensors to get to $37,500. I think the cheapest car in Australia right now is a $19,000 MG3, and you get parking sensors with that as standard. Now, I hope you guys are all sitting down because I'm about to show you an absolute powerhouse that is the Toyota Corolla 1.8 litres of hybrid fury under the bonnet. 103 kilowatts, which is about 140 horsepower, front wheel drive. This thing will get 0 to 100. It definitely will get to 100. In fact, I'm going to show you now. I've only seen one other test of a sport version of this, the ZR, and it got 12.9 seconds to 100. So we're going to try and beat that right now. All right, guys, this is serious business. I've got my racing jacket on. We're doing a 0 to 100 time. We're in power mode. Let's go. Foot to the floor. Come on, Toyota. Come on, Toyota. Hell yeah. We made it. We made it, guys. Let's see what time that we did. So can you believe it? 9.3 seconds. I think I could go even faster. Maybe I'll try another time at the drags. This car, however, is incredibly efficient, and that's pretty much one of the main reasons why you would purchase it, of course. Combined fuel consumption of just 4 litres per 100 kilometres. So that's 58 miles per gallon, and I've actually been able to beat that in my driving and drop it down below 4 litres per 100 Ks. So with this 43 litre tank, you can get over 1,000 kilometres, which is truly incredible. So onto the rear of the car, which really doesn't look too bad for an appliance. Now, the Toyota Corolla here in Australia used to be the absolute king of sales. So 12, 15 years ago, it was the #1 sold car here in Australia. And now it's not even in the top 10. In fact, the top 3 are diesel utes of all things. And the rest of the top 10 is made up pretty much of small and medium SUVs. Now, lots of people would think that that is because people want to be above each other and ride on curbs and I guess go off-roading in cars that aren't meant to go off-road. But I think a large part of the reason why this car has dropped off in sales is because of this. The boot space, particularly in this hybrid version, is just really not adequate for people with, say, 2 or 3 children. This one in particular is quite shallow. We do get a space saver spare tire, which I do appreciate because you don't get that in a lot of cars these days. And I think what I'm going to do, just so that I can fit at least full-size luggage, is pull out this toolkit and then minimize it, and then I can drop it down further so I get a proper sized boot. Next quirk that I've found is this massive sign saying ready. I don't know what this is, and it took me a few days to work out. So this thing stays on the screen with a massive ready sign all the time. Not just now when you get in the car, but when you're driving along. And I have been trying to work out what the hell it means. What is ready? Do I need to press OK on my steering wheel to get EV mode or something like that? Well, no, absolutely not. Because this is an EV car, Toyota is simply telling you that the car is now ready to drive. And the car is on and ready to drive. And you might not know because the engine is on. What I don't understand is why it stays on while you drive. So I'm just staring at this massive green lettering saying ready at all times, which is a bit of a Japanese quirk, I think. Now I wanted to give you guys a bit of an exhaust note, but I can't even do that if you watch this as we close the door. So the car is currently on, believe it or not, but it always starts in EV mode. If we put the car into neutral and the parking brake is on, and we want to give it a bit of a rev, Toyota says, no sir, you cannot do that. Even if I put it in performance mode, so put in power mode, you can't get a rev out of it. Not that it would really make any difference to your experience anyway, but something I've never seen in a car before. Now Toyota would like to make you think that there is no exhaust on this car, but I can tell you that it's hiding under here, emitting away, just tucked under. There's this tiny exhaust hiding from everyone. So welcome to the cloth trimmed emporium that is the Toyota hybrid Corolla rear seat. Now, as I'm sitting in the central middle seat, good luck to anyone who has to sit here because my head is hitting the roof and I'm just on 5'11". If you're sitting to the side of me though, you've got enough space. These seats are quite comfortable and you have no amenities other than these cup holders. My head does not hit the roof, however, if I'm sitting to the left or right. We get no Type-C charge points or any other charge points or air conditioning, which would be nice in the rear seats, even of a hatch. As we move on to the front seats actually have a lot more side bolstering than I thought they would. They could do with maybe a little bit of lumbar support, but I really don't mind the seats at all. All my gripes for this Corolla pretty much start and end in this interior. Now, the main gripe I'm focusing on right now, and that is this central screen. It was, I think, put in this car about 2018, has been updated since, but it is definitely the worst part of this interior. So we already have quite a raked front windscreen, so we don't have crazy front visibility. The rest of the visibility of the car is great. So this screen sort of already takes up a part of a limited factor that we have. And the border on it and how much space it takes up is just almost comical. I think it's 8 inches, but basically if you sit in a, for example, new i20N, a CX-30, a new Kona hybrid, you'll see that they have just such a better setup, in my opinion, with the double landscape screen. So you don't have all of this unused space or wasted space for the driver. The screen is also not, as you can see, directed towards the driver. It's also not particularly modern or easy to use. I just can't stand it. It's the worst part of this car, but the rest is quite good. So the central screen is quite clear and quite easy to use as well, and it's much better than this one here. We've got a wired Android Auto and I believe wireless Apple CarPlay, but I haven't got that to work as yet. Everything else in here is pretty much grey and cloth and very simple, basic Toyota. Having said that though, there's not a huge amount of plastic. So all this dash here is quite soft, and that's something that I think just makes everything feel a bit better. What I also like about this is though, the classic Toyota quality of things. Everything in here does not creak. So modern cars, especially prestige German cars, everything that you touch just creaks like crazy or moves around and is plastic or screen. This car just feels really solid for a small hatch. And I think that that just, you know, is something that Toyota has done forever and a day. There's a couple of quirks that I've found in this car, and one is this. As you see here, there's a B, and I have no idea because I've never owned a Toyota before what the B means underneath D for drive. And that is an engine brake, which is supposed to slow your car down on a descent to make it, I guess, safer and slow down quicker so you don't have to use your brakes as much. Now, as to the rest of the car, another thing that I feel we're getting shortchanged on is the fact that we get one Type-C port. And we also have a 12 volt here in the center console, but just one 12 volt. Come on Toyota, stop being so stingy. Give us more charging points, at least 2 somewhere else. In this trim, we also don't get wireless charging. I think that comes in the next trim level, which I did not bother spending 3 grand on, which just gave us some other bits that I don't really need. Other than that, it's a relatively nice place to sit and very, very comfortable. So let's take it for a drive. So all of my complaints about the screen and the wanting for more space are pretty much forgotten once you get behind the wheel. Now, usually the car will start off in EV mode, which for a car of this purpose just makes things so much more comfortable and quiet. And all of your inputs from the steering to the pedals, etc., the suspension are just comfortable and efficient. I think I could just drive for hours and hours and hours in this thing and not get tired. And that's just the whole point of cars like this, is to go about your day as quietly and easily as possible without creating any fuss. And I even like the way that this thing steers. Sure, it's not going to be winning any hot hatch competitions, but it just goes about its business in a really competent way. So I saw a review not long ago that said that the Corolla has fairly poor road noise and tire roar. I've found this to be very quiet on the freeway, barely any wind buffeting around the car, and barely any, if at all, tire roar on the freeway. So it's very, very quiet and enjoyable to drive over long distances. And I will be driving this over long distances in the future. I'm going to take it to Sydney for a whole bunch of vlogs that I have organized in the coming months. So if there's one thing that this Corolla does incredibly well, and that is handling bumps. Now this is the worst road that I usually ever have to drive on, and it is teeth chattering in most of the other cars that I own. This Corolla is soaking up these corrugations and bumps on a broken road so well. In fact, in general, as it gets worse, but in general, this Corolla soaks up the terrible Australian roads and all its undulations and potholes and stuff so well for a little hatchback. So a couple more little things about how this guy drives. Firstly, I'm really impressed by how quickly, smoothly and quietly the car transitions from having the engine on or off. So I have driven hybrid vehicles which are almost 10 times the value of this, like Porsches, Audis, etc. And the transition between having the engine on and off and the power delivery is quite jerky actually, as those two things shut on or off depending on what you ask of it. In this car, it's almost imperceptible as to what's going on. You're just focused on driving and everything is super smooth. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is the dreaded 3-letter abbreviation CVT gearbox. Now, this is no performance model whatsoever. Of course, it has a CVT, and people with more mechanical knowledge than me have told me that this ECE CVT is not the type that's found in some other brands or models, which falls apart when you talk to it badly or sneeze on it. Apparently, these are really quite reliable. Similar to the ones that are run in the Camry hybrid, which are run from millions of kilometers in Ubers all around the world. Now, I may have complained about the tech and the screens, but I have also been impressed with the sound system. So this is just the stock, the basic level trim of Corolla. And I think it's a JBL system. It's really quite loud and crispy clear. I listen to music constantly and I really am quite happy with it. So first, let's talk about the elephant in the room, so to speak, and that is the price. So 37 and almost $500 Australian dollars for this little shush cows. Sorry, I'm just telling my cows to shush. For this Toyota hybrid, which is a lot for a little hatch. Now, you may think that is very expensive. And then I sort of had a bit of a research and look on the market and saw that any other hybrid hatch you can buy is a Cupra Leon, which has a lot more performance, but it's a lot more expensive, and a Honda Civic hybrid, which again is a lot more performance, but is also a lot more expensive. So it sort of makes sense. I think this is the sort of car for someone who drives a lot of kilometers and also maybe has some sort of philosophical, I guess, thoughts about wanting to sip as little fuel as possible as well. So another reason why I bought this little guy is, of course, because I will never have to worry about it. The warranty on this thing is 7 years with unlimited kilometers if you get it serviced regularly, and you get a 10-year warranty on the battery, in which case you also get a rebate for giving it back after that 10 years. So let me give you a final verdict on the Corolla hybrid. Well, I guess I just have to deal with any of the things I don't like now because I've bought the car, but how can I help you as a potential consumer? Well, for most people, I think I would shell out another $3,000 or $4,000 and buy the Corolla Cross Hybrid or the Hyundai Kona Hybrid. So you get very similar fuel consumption, but you get a proper size boot at the back and you get a bit more space in the rear. So that is my consumer advice to you. Otherwise, I still love this little thing and it's going to stay in my garage for many, many years, just sipping fuel and being a reliable little Japanese cruiser. So thank you very much for watching. This is Driver 88 and I'll see you next time.